Max over feelings, man. The truth is in the building. Sorry for the wait, man. It's been a while. Took a little break, but this one right here, long overdue. I know you probably seen this guy on a few other platforms, but this is it. This the one. This that home cooking. This where we needed him at. Back at the crib, Franklin County roots. Brian Maxwell, what's good, my brother?
What's good, dog?
How you
Man,
doing,
this has
man?
been a long awaited, long time coming.
Yeah,
Happy,
man.
finally happy to be here, man. This is hometown type shit, you feel what I'm
Home
saying?
home cooking at its finest, man.
Yes, sir.
So first of all, man, tell the people what it's like growing up here in little Franklin County, man.
Man, growing up here was some of the best of times and some of the worst of times of my life. You know, it's the country. You know, we all country people around here, so, you know, we got different type of values. And, you know, where I live at now, everybody always talk about, man, Frank County ain't nothing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, Frank County ain't got no hoods, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bruh, come live down here for a couple of years of your life or grow up here.
Right.
It's not just country. You know, every place in the world has their type of hood or whatever you want to call it, as a hood or slums or whatever.
Yeah,
but
and you can get beat up here.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
like
Yeah, it ain't just run straight to the gun. They go in the backyard and fight.
Facts,
You know what I'm
man.
saying? That's how they came up. You can
Shoot.
definitely get beat up here.
yeah, you can get beat up at school in
Right.
any parking lot, your
Right.
homeboy's backyard, your
Right.
backyard,
Absolutely.
somebody else's backyard. You can even get beat up at the stove for the wrong type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but man, I love it here. This is my home. Like I tell people all the time, even though I've been on a bunch of podcasts and other platforms, I'm a big homegrown type of guy.
Right.
Like I tell them, you know, even though I've made it to a certain type of level and a different type of scenery, I'm still a hometown guy. You feel what I'm saying? I love being from where I'm from, aka the moonshine capital of the world.
Moonshine Capital, baby.
Yeah, man, like everywhere I go, man, and I tell people I'm from the moonshine capital, they always talk about that movie that was made here, and I was like, yep, that's definitely the place where I'm
Lawless,
from.
what the name of it?
Yes, sir, Lawless,
Yeah,
and
Lawless.
you know, I've slid some moonshine to a few places that I've been at, and
They probably this is like woo.
yes, sir, and they fucks with it, man. Like
Firewater.
especially my guys down there in Mississippi, man. They love it, man. They like, and they got some good,
Yeah,
some good
they
stuff
probably got
down-
some good moonshine down there.
yeah, but they said that the shit up here was different and it was
Yeah.
good, man. But yeah, I fucks with it. Like I said, I'm definitely a hometown guy and I love it here, man. And you know, I grew up. I didn't grow up the best, but I still grew up here and learned. And you know, I'm at where I'm at now. You feel what I'm saying?
So, but you originally come from a wrestling background.
Yes, sir. All
Right.
day.
That's another thing about here, man. Is you really, I think the benefit of growing up in a place like this, you more heavy on into the sports. You know what I'm saying? Like you, to where in the city you probably outside doing a lot more. Not saying the guys here wasn't doing that, but you probably taking the sports a little more serious, man. I do think that.
Yeah, man, like around here, you know, compared to a city, man, it's not many opportunities to do anything else but either play sports or be out in a farm or be out in town somewhere, you feel what I'm saying? And, you know, sports to me was my way of trying to get out and do something productive with myself, you feel what I'm saying? So I was trying to do everything, a little bit of basketball, played soccer for a year. You know, I grew up around wrestling from the time I was 4 years old, around the Menifees, and those guys are local wrestling legends around
Yeah,
here.
the twins right here.
And you know, I grew up around them and going to their wrestling matches, watching their practices. But you know, I was never able to be able to wrestle at that age because, you know, I was a small body kid. I was little. I was short. I wasn't the biggest, and you know, my mom babied me a little bit, but was hard on me at the same time, and she just wouldn't let me do it because she didn't want me to get hurt. But
Right.
you know, eventually, you know, times changed, and you know, I had to sneak to do it at first, and then, you know, when she finally found out about it, she was very supportive. You know, shout out to my guy, rest in peace, Lamar K. Casey. He the one was the ultimate of helping get me to those wrestling practice because, you know, I was trying out for the school basketball, the 7th grade school basketball team at the time, and he's like, man, look, this ain't it. I could have made the team, but, you know, I was like, man, I really don't want to play basketball either. I'd rather wrestle because, you know, I've been around it for so long, and, this is what I want to do. And, the ultimate goal was, come with me to a couple wrestling practices and see how you like it. And, I went, and for 2 hard weeks, I got my ass whooped by him and other cats like George Harper, Frankie, damn, I be forgetting Frankie's name all the time. Frankie Vincent, Marshall Trotter, and all those, William Harper and all those guys. And shoot, even Cedric Wright was there practicing with us and stuff like that. And, we had a squad, and like I said, my first 2 weeks, I got my ass handed to me. And, I eventually caught on to it, and it was natural, and, that's been my thing.
It felt right.
Yeah, it felt right.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
once I got that itch of being in that wrestling gym and being with those guys that I grew up with and around, like it was different. And shout out to those guys, they even persuaded me to start trying to play football too, and that's what I did. And I ended up starting to run track that year to, elevate myself a little bit.
Right. And quick thing, shout out to Lamar K, because he just brought him up. He was definitely helping me push this Fat Lives Matter thing. He was repping hard. I just want to plug that in real
Yes,
quick.
sir. You already know that was always his hashtag and everything.
Yeah, rest easy to the homie, man. He was definitely helping me push it, man. Definitely. So, what was the transition like, trying the MMA thing versus just traditional like high school wrestling?
I mean, the transition for me was quite easy, honestly, because, in high school, around my 11th, 12th grade year, those college wrestling letters start coming in from all types of colleges over the country. I even got a college letter from a place in Great Britain. Like that. That was why I still have that letter in a bin right now, just to.
Yeah, I might frame that joint.
Yeah, just to say that I got an international college looking at me, and once those letters start coming in, I finally picked the college that I wanted to go to because everything seemed right at that point in time. And when I got to college, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, I was the only black dude on my wrestling team. So being on the campus that I was on, most of the predominant black guys was on the football team or played baseball or basketball, and so me coming into college and being the only black kid on my wrestling team, it was instant popularity just because it was me being that guy, and like everybody there came out to support me. But what led me to MMA was one of my teammates. He had transferred in, and big UFC fan, and he was telling me about the UFC fights and shit like that, and I'm like, what the hell is the UFC? I've never even heard of that. I've watched boxing and and like karate all most of my life, but I had never heard of MMA or the UFC. And one night we was in the dorm room, chilling and drinking a little bit and smoking, and he's like, man, these fights are about to come on. That's before UFC started doing pay-per-views, and he's like, let's watch this. And the first fight that came on, it was an Anderson Silva fight. I'm like, oh shit,
That was a good one.
yeah, he was walking out. I was like, oh shit, this is tough. I like this walkout. I liked his swagger, how he came out and how he carried himself. And when the fight started, I started seeing how he moved and how he was like cocky with it. And I was like, oh shit, man, that like I think that would fit me one day, because me growing up being a wrestler, they say wrestlers are cocky. Well, good wrestlers are cocky and very headstrong, and that sparked my interest. Of course, Anderson Silva, he's the GOAT. He won that night in very great fashion, knocked the dude out, and I was like, man, one day I'm gonna try this. And that's where my interest started. So I started watching more and more UFC fights. Even when I got back from college, I remember going to where did we go? We went to Applebee's, me, you, and my shout out to my brother Monty Swanson. We went to
Griswold.
Yes, sir. We went to Applebee's and watched that Rashad Evans versus who did he fight that night? He fought somebody. Rampage Jackson that night. And I was like, oh shit, this is my calling. Like literally the whole time when me, you, and him was watching that fight, I seen how y'all was turning up, reacting to the fights. I didn't have that reaction quite yet because
you had a passion for it.
Yeah, so I'm like, damn, these niggas is really turning up to this shit. And I'm reacting to other people that was inside Applebee's that night, being loud and shit about the fight and cheering and shit. I'm like, oh shit, is this how it is when you're a fighter? So you know, a year went by, I dabbled in life, and, you know, I finally got a chance to actually start training it because, you know, I just happened to be on the internet one day, and, you know, they used to hold fights called Ruckus in the Cage in Roanoke, and, you know, one of the dudes that I wrestled with in high school, he was into it, and, you know, he had just fought for him like some months before that because I seen it on his, you know, social media platforms. So, you know, I just went onto their website and was, shit, I was like, shit, here's my chance. I'm going to just sign up for the shit. So, you know, like literally 3 hours later, the promoter called my phone, and I was like, oh, shit, who is this?
It's real, you see?
Yeah, I was like, at first, you know, because I didn't have his number, so he called me. And I was like, who's this? And he's like, you know, I'm the promoter, you know, whatever Smith, and, you know, I'm the promoter of Ruckus in the Cage. Would you like to fight for us? And I was like, yes, sir. You know, this is what I signed up for. And, you know, he gave me an opponent. He's like, you know, he trains at a good jiu-jitsu school. He's already 2-0. And, you know, he's got a big team behind him. And me being me, I'm a wrestler, man. I said, I don't care because whatever. But, you know, I said whatever. I was happy about it. You know, I'm sitting there cheering when I got off the phone, and it's like, oh shit, here we go. You know, I'm flipping, running through the house, and not knowing how to act and carry myself. And you know, I was like, you know, starting because he called me on a Saturday, so I'm like, starting Monday, I'm gonna start hitting the gym, get back in shape. So you know, I started going to Planet Fitness, and you know, it's my third week in the Planet Fitness, I ended up seeing a guy. It was just by judgment. Maybe a stereotype, but you know, I seen a guy with, you know, fight shorts on and a UFC shirt with sponsors on the back. So you know, I'm sitting there on the rowing machine, and you know, I go ahead and finish that, and I just walk up to him and ask him, you know where any martial arts schools there are around here, because you know, I got a fight coming up in a couple months, and I want to start training literally, and you know, just so happened he was a local pro fighter from Roanoke, and so it's like, you know, yeah, let's link up. Here's my Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Just, you know, hit me up in like 2 days because I got to go out of town. And when I come back, let's link up. So, you know, I messaged him, and, you know, the very next week I started training at Champs Boxing Gym when it was on Melrose. So,
Right.
you know, that building in itself is a legendary boxing gym in the city. So, you know, I started training there. And from then on, man, it was game time. Like, literally training there. When it came to my first fight, all I knew was how to wrestle, and what I learned from being in that boxing gym with those guys. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, boxing hands and street hands is two totally different things. You know,
Right, yeah.
I thought I had hands out here in the streets, but man, going into a boxing gym and sparring for the first time ever in my life, man, I was getting tore up. But you know, like I said, it's another thing that takes me back to wrestling. Once I got the gist of it, you know, it became natural. And you know, a couple months went by, I'm training my ass off, and my son was born around the same time. So you know, I'm trying to, you know, juggle my schedule of taking care of my son and working and hitting the gym. So you know, that was a part of my life that I had to start adjusting to, because everything, all that right there was new to me. And, you know, come that first fight, you know, fight day, I get to the venue, man, my nerves.
That was going to be my next question.
My nerves, man. My nerves
Yes, sir.
were through the roof. I
Yeah.
had cold sweats all day. I couldn't sit down. I was walking around the whole time. You know, I learned a valuable lesson that day. Do not eat fast food before you fight, because that makes your nervousness and your stomach way worse than you would ever think. And
Just fast food? You can, like, maybe not just, so what if you ate like a greasy meal at home? Would that be as bad? Or
no, that would be just as bad. Like,
Okay.
don't eat anything greasy or none of that on fight day.
Eat some baked chicken, some
Or
light.
some fruit. But you know,
Right.
like that whole day, I did not sit down not one time. So that in itself, losing a lot of energy, and you know, walking around seeing these fights and seeing how many people is there, and you know, how many fight teams are there. I was there by myself, basically. You know, I was with me and two other people. One of the dudes I wrestled with in high school, he came out to show me some support. So I was like, man, just help her with being in my corner. So, you know, because you know me from wrestling, and, you know, come 2 fights before mine, that's when it really settled in. I'm about to get in my very first fight, man. This shit is crazy.
It's really happening.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting here. I'm calling my brothers like, yo, I'm about to go on, man. Calling them Marque, calling Marcus. You know, I text Monty, look, man, it's almost game time. I'm about to go up here, man. And I get off the phone with them. They tell me good luck. Bring this dub home like they always did. And I go out there, walk into the cage. I don't even remember the song that I walked out to, but I couldn't even hear it because I was in tunnel vision at that time. And as soon as I stepped in that cage, it really set in that, oh shit.
Oh, this is happening.
Yeah, we here now. And once that bell rung, man, like I literally lost everything I had learned my whole life and up to that moment of training because it set in and that adrenaline kicked in too. And I'm like, damn, let's go. Let's just go for what you know. And, it turns out I ended up knocking the dude out in like 25 seconds. And, Ken Shamrock, UFC legend Ken Shamrock happened to be there. And to look over and see him standing up, clapping and hearing that crowd where I was at, I was in Abingdon, Virginia, and the place where I fought at was in a farm auction house.
Oh, shit.
So if you want to talk about starting at the bottom and getting it out the mud, literally, it was mud and hay in there in an barn auction house.
Literally.
And, that, man, from that day forward, man, it was game time, and seeing the love and support from the fans coming out of there after them booing the shit out me when I was, first walking out. That I could hear that. And, at that point, I really had something to prove then too. And like I said, I knocked the dude out in 25 seconds. And hearing that same crowd booing me walking out, same crowd yelling ooh and clapping and standing up and shit like that, man.
I think
that meant a lot.
Yeah, the boos would probably it'll be motivation after a while, though. I felt like if I was a fighter, they'd boo me, like, if I lost a couple, I'd be like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm going to show y'all.
Yeah, man, those boos, man, they hit different, depending on where you're at, man. Like, let me see, where was I at? It was a couple years ago. I fought matter of fact, it was my Ocho Cinco fight. I got there to weigh in, crowd hype, I'm hype. I step on the scale all of a sudden, because Chad was the hometown guy. He from Miami-Dade County. I step on the scale. They announce my weigh in, and all of a sudden, all I hear is, boo! I'm like, man, here we go. But, those boos hit different depending on where you are. If it's a small crowd, the boos don't really affect you as much, but when it's like on a big stage and them boos come in, you like, oh, okay, y'all gonna boo me? All right, watch me work and do whoever in, you feel what I'm saying?
Speaking of Chad, here we go.
Yes, sir.
Here we go. This is it.
Yes, sir.
Right here.
Y'all see what it says. Y'all see what's on it. Who was Brian Maxwell? That night they found out who I was, you feel what I'm saying? But, shout out to Ocho Cinco, man. That's my guy. I literally talk to him all the time. We've kept he's one of my biggest supporters. He always, whenever I post on Twitter or even on, the gram, he always retweet my shit or share my shit or, he be on his lives and he'll shout me out and shit like that, man. That guy was my childhood hero, man. Like, that's who I tried to mold myself out from because of his cockiness, and man, he's a hell of a football player.
He was one of the best, bro.
I
wish he'd have been on a team where they did some winning. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he was one of the best. Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, that was always my favorite player growing up. Like on any Madden or any football game, that was my number one wide receiver, and that's who was going to get the ball. It was always him, Keyshawn Johnson, or Randy Moss. Those were my three star receivers on any game that I had that they were in. You can ask Marcus, Monty, anybody that knows me knows those were my receivers, and also Terrell Owens. I got a good relationship with him too. He's one of my supporters too, man. And like anything I need or any advice, I can reach out to Ocho or T.O. and they'll hit me back whenever they got the time, or they hit me back real quick and we have a conversation. You feel what I'm saying? So. That's a blessing in disguise, you feel what I'm saying?
Tell us what it was like getting that call, knowing it. Hold on, first of all, knowing, like, I'm about to, because we don't know Chad Ochocinco from boxing nobody. You know what I'm saying? We know him for being cocky, crushing the defender, you know what I'm saying, on the Bengals. We don't know him for that.
Yes, sir.
So when you get the news that this is happening, and then on top of that, this is a Mayweather promotion, like Floyd, like, oh my God, coming from right here, getting that news, there had to be like, bruh, man, I probably would have threw 6 parties. I'd have been hungover for like 4 days, dog. Like I'm telling you, man, tell us what that was like. Just getting that news, like, that's crazy, man.
Man,
I gotta hear this.
Man, like at first, man, like the way I found out about it was, a couple weeks before I found out about it, you know, you know, I travel, I drive, or either I'm on a plane. But I was going to help out with the promotion that I'm signed to, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. I was going to one of their tryouts to help out and scout new talent for the company. So I'm going to Alabama. I get a phone call, but I blew it off because I didn't know the number.
Right.
So, after that, the number didn't call back. So, I go to tryouts, come home, and, 2 weeks later, literally 2 weeks later, Bare Knuckle, they're holding a fight card down there in the same place that I just did tryouts at. So, on the way down there, I stopped to get gas, and, I get a call from a promoter that I had fought for, and like 3 months prior to that, I did a boxing match for him. And he hits me up. He's like, are you available to fight? And I was like, yeah, I'm available to fight. What's up? And he's like, can you fight on this date? And I was like, I don't know. Hit Bare Knuckle up and see what they talking about. And he's like, all right, bet. I'll call you back. So in the midst of that, I get a message on Instagram that says, Chad Ochocinco Johnson. I'm like,
What?
I'm like, the fuck?
Somebody spelled somebody's name wrong. They ain't just say what I think they say.
Yeah, it's like
No way.
he DM'd me, and I was like, what the fuck? Is this really him?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I follow him on the gram. I follow him on all of my social medias. It's my favorite player.
Right.
So I checked the message, and he's like, hey, Brian, this Ocho hit me up. I'm like, man, this can't be
somebody
real.
hacked him. Yeah,
so
no way.
This is a hack.
Right.
Because, on Instagram, you get bots and shit.
Right.
So I click on the profile, and I was like, damn, this is him.
Maybe.
Maybe.
See the blue check, you like.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, maybe this was a mistake. So I hit him back. I was like, what's up? And he's like, call me. And I was like, are you sure this is the real Ocho Cinco? He's like, yeah, why would I do that? So, I blow it off for a few minutes. I drive for a couple more hours. I get to Alabama to the hotel where they got me staying at. So I checked my messages again. So he sent me a video to prove that it was him. He's at one of his kids track meets. So he this is me, blah blah blah. So I'm like, oh shit, man, this is crazy. So I messaged him back and I'm like, what's good? And he sent me his number, like, call me. So by that time, I got to doing podcasts and interviews with some of the podcasters and stuff that was at the fights, and so I blew it off. And that night at the fights was kind of weird because people kept asking, when am I fighting again? And I heard this and I heard that. And I'm sitting here like, man, the hell going on? And the promotion, they hooked me up that night. You feel what I'm saying? I had great seats. I got to interact with the crowd. I got to hang with some of the homies that were fighters, even the guys that, came from the tryout I was at that I helped them recruit, fought that night, did their thing. And, so I'm on the way home after the fights and stuff the next day. I'm on the way home, and I get another phone call from the promoter guy, and he's like, well, I talked to BKFC and, blah, blah, blah. I'll hit you back again. So, okay, I'm driving home, so I stopped to get gas once again. Just happened to look at my phone. Ocho, he hits me up again. Like, call me. So, I saved his number, but I didn't call him because, I started driving again. So that next day on that Monday, I'm at work chilling, listening to a podcast, and I get a phone call. It was the promotion I fight for, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. They told we got something big for you on the table. And, we'll send you some more information here shortly. Right. So, I'm working and, they call my active running manager and, she comes and tells me, hey, we got something big on the table. And, why Chad Ochocinco Johnson has been messaging you, you're going to fight him. And I'm like, what the, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, he played football. What are you talking about?
And so I'm like, oh shit, let me go ahead and call Bare Knuckle back, see what they talking about, because they had also offered me a Bare Knuckle fight, And, I was about to start preparing for that. And, I talked to them, and they told me about the situation and the opportunity. At first, I wasn't going to take the fight because, I was so tied up into doing my bare knuckle thing at that point in time. I didn't want anything to jeopardize that bare knuckle fight that I had coming up.
Right.
So they reassured me that you'll be fine. If you take this fight, as long as you don't get no bad cuts or, get knocked out or something, the fight can still go on. But, I was like, damn, this is my favorite football player. Do I want to fight him? Like, oh, man. So I had to think about it for a few seconds. And like I said, they assured me everything was cool. And I was like, I accept. And, that's when things got crazy. I couldn't announce it or nothing yet because, we had to wait on contracts and wait for everything to be approved and, wait for the, the money situation to be, accepted and counted for and shit like that. And, I'm sitting here wilding out in my head, and I'm going to keep it 100. Nigga, I shed a man tear that day because I was like,
Yeah,
man,
of course.
Man, this is life changing.
Of course.
No one from where I live or where I'm from have not gotten too many big opportunities to be able to do something like this. Of course, there's been some guys like Andre Washington, playing, pro basketball and stuff. Shout out to him. And
yeah, we're going to get you in here too, Andre. I'm going to holler at you. We need you in here.
And, of course, Terrell Basham, he's in the NFL. Shout out to him. And, of course, we have Pee Wee Board in the NFL too. And, this place has had tons and tons of great athletes, whether it be football, basketball, track, or wrestling, to come through here. And like I said, shit got crazy. And I'm sitting here thinking in my head, I made a promise to myself while I was in 10th grade to pursue something athletically and do something great with it one day, because I didn't want to end up like the stereotypical great athlete from here. If I turned out to be a great athlete, to not do something with it. And
yeah, because it's a lot of guys. I don't want to call nobody's name. I don't throw nobody under the bus. But it's a lot of dudes from here in this town that had talent, especially on that court, bro. And
yeah, the court.
They still here.
Yeah, the
no,
court.
No disrespect, but they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They still right here. No diss, no shade. But I feel like they could have really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like, whether it was the basketball court or football, man, I've seen some hella athletes, way better athletes than me, come through here and not do something. And I made a promise to myself, and I told my mama this when I was in 10th grade, that, if I became a great athlete, because I had the dream of being a professional wrestler, I was going to do something with that one day. And once I got to college, you the kind of wrestling you do, there's nothing after that. Even internationally, what's the chances of, wrestling your ass off and making it to the Olympics? I mean, that was a goal, but once I got that UFC stuff, watching it, that went out the window. But, like I said, shit got crazy after finding out about this fight. And I couldn't talk about it to nobody but, the close circle, about starting to get shit into fruition and start getting paperwork and all that shit right. And, getting phone calls from radio shows and stuff, and still having to wait to announce the shit was killing me, man. Like bad. And, those radio shows and podcasts and stuff, they couldn't drop none of the, interviews or nothing until after everything was situated and perfect. And, man, I'm telling you, life just got crazy. Like it was wild. And then when I was finally able to announce it, that was a life-changing moment, because here come the sponsors, here come people that...
Bro, I'm going to keep it real. A lot of people didn't think it was real. Like, I was in the room, and like, man, that nigga capping, man. This nigga full of shit. He ain't fighting no channel. You know what I'm saying? But, bro, I remember us, bro, we got so deep in the house to watch that joint. We on with Marcus. I don't hang with Cowboy fans anyway.
Yeah, man. Fuck the Cowboys.
But we was deep, bro. Like, we was deep. Monty, I remember he was in there, crunk, shirt off, drunk.
Oh, man. He always got his shirt off, sweating like a motherfucker.
Classic Grizz. Yeah, he was in there, bro. We was so deep in it. It felt so good, man. Like, just watching that joint. They was a little upset that you said you was from Roanoke. That they was angry about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I was angry about that
Yeah,
because
they
like
was angry about
when
that.
they did my pre-fight interviews and stuff and took all my information, I guess they didn't want to say it on air that I was from Franklin County, aka the moonshine capital of the world, because that's what I put on my papers.
But they could have just left that part out and said
Yeah,
Franklin County, though. I mean,
and I put that on my papers, told them where I was born and where I'm from, and I think they said Roanoke because that's where I train out of is Roanoke. And when they did that, I was like, damn. I looked up for a second. I even looked at my coach. Did they really just say that? Like, get the fuck out of here!
Yeah.
Like, man, everybody know where I'm from. You feel what I'm saying? And you know, it was wild. And to piggyback on what you said of a few moments ago about you thought it was cap. A lot of people thought that shit was cap.
oh yeah, I was in the room. I was like, man, that's full of shit.
We're sitting here, to get things active and make it big in the area. We hitting up newspapers and local radio stations, and they thought that shit was cap too, man. And I'm highly upset about that. And the news stations, every major news station in the area, they blew me off. They thought it was cap too. Even the local radio show 97.7, we got in contact with them, and they reached back out and was like, man, they thought the fight was cap too. And then once the media outlets start mentioning my name, and at one point, I swear to God, for 3 weeks straight, my name period was like a trending topic on every social media there was.
As it should have been.
Like like Ocho, of course Ocho's name was attached to it, but every hashtag was, that's how I came up with my slogan, who was Brian Maxwell, because all these media outlets were asking who was I, and speaking about my background, and of course a couple of them started calling cap on it that it was a fake fight and blah blah blah. And then the platform that really blew it up and got people really paying attention was the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne them.
Yeah,
And,
that's my guy too, man.
Yeah,
I hope I
and-
get to meet him one day. That's a funny dude, man.
hey, cool dude in real life. I actually got to meet him at my fight, man.
Yeah,
And
that's my guy, man. I
man,
like Charlotte,
he's a lot smaller than I thought he was. I thought he was a big dude, but Charlamagne smaller than I thought he was. And like I said, Charlamagne and the Breakfast Club is what really blew this fight up, and all the other media outlets, bing, start blowing me up, and everything started coming to light. And I didn't mean to pick it back that far, but I had to, man, because behind the scenes, a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes, because when shit that big happens to a hometown guy especially from a place that nobody really looks at except for various crimes or moonshine, or hey, there's not that many athletes that come out of there to do something big. And
I think that's what did it, though. What you just said, I think it's just like, why would they pick him of all people? Like, why not, why pick the fighter from, this little small place? But it was for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It was for a reason. But I think that was what everybody was so.
Yeah.
Like, what made them pick Brian out of the thousands or, a million people they had to choose from? How did he get this chance? But, man, it's super dope. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, man, to be quite honest, like till this day, it's been 2 years since that fight, and I'm still baffled on how in the hell they picked me. But at the same point in time, I kind of see why they picked me, because I've always had locally, I've had a buzz. You feel what I'm saying? I had a little bit of a buzz locally because, like I said, I'm an MMA fighter. And at the end of the day, I'm a social media. I wasn't too heavy in social media, but, I was in social media. I post shit here and there, or on my Facebook. I learned the business of, hey, if you start promoting yourself, a whole lot more people will put their eyes on you. And, once I signed to Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, man, my following and eyes on me, blew up some more. So, I had a little bit of buzz, and like I said, I'm still baffled how they picked me. But you know how the saying goes: it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Absolutely. Anything you do in life, brother. Yes, sir.
I've gotten to meet some cool ass people on the way through this journey, and I think through meeting some of the people that I've met, I still think it's the promoter that called me that I fought for earlier in that year, because he's man, this dude is global. He know everybody. He knows Floyd's camp. He know Devin Haney's camp. He know Lomachenko. He know
Man.
Tank. He know all the biggest people's camps, and he's got a widespread of connections through everything. And in this game, like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And through his content, I think it's him. But also, it's been mentioned in other interviews that UFC legend, aka bare knuckle street guy from the Kimbo Slice days, Jorge Masvidal, mentioned my name because I've had a couple interactions with him throughout the times too, like being at fights and stuff. And like I said, he's one of the OGs from bare knuckle fighting during the Kimbo days. And like I said, man, having a network of people that know people in high places, I think really helped me get mentioned into being the front runner to getting Chad a fight. And a lot of people don't know, Chad, if you follow Chad Ochocinco Johnson through his whole career, of course a lot of people were saying, oh, Chad's not a boxer, man, he's going to get his ass beat, blah, blah, blah. No, if you are a real fan of Chad Ochocinco Johnson, you know that during the off season, even during the season when he would go home, if he was not, outside, he was in a boxing gym at Floyd's gym training to get better with his footwork and his hand mechanics through boxing. So he sparred, he just and got that work in, but he never had a real fight, you feel what I'm saying? So, me going into that fight, I already knew what was up, you feel what I'm saying? I know he had a background in boxing, he just never had a fight, so I wasn't going to take it as, oh man, he ain't got no experience, I'm going to beat the brakes off him. No, you can't take it like that, especially when you've been a follower of a person most of your life, you feel what I'm saying? So,
but keep it real, though, keep it real. When you caught him with that punch, how'd you feel?
Man, look, for real.
Put him being your idol out the window. Keep it a stack.
I'm going to keep it all the way stacked. During that whole fight, man, with the respect that I have for that man, I tried to hold back as much as I could. And then it was a great fight. But, what got me fired up was that the third round and going into my corner, like before the third round started, my coach, shout out to my coach, Randy Witcher, he's been, helping me out for the longest time these past couple years, helping me with my striking game. And we see that where that's at now is almost top notch and almost elite now. But, he gets me in the corner. It's like, man, he gets turned up at fights in the corner, and he gonna keep it real. He's like, man, this is the goddamn football player. Stop playing. Mm-hmm. So that got me fired up. So that third round, I turned it up a notch. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, there we go. And then when I got in the corner before the fourth round, he said the same thing again. So I was like, all right, bet, let's go. And I was like, you know what I've been saying the whole time? We're gonna get a fourth round highlight reel. And I was like, just wait on it. And he's like, bet, let's go. Let's do something about it. And, I was turned up from that point on. And, when I got that, I was waiting for that exact moment because what we practiced in the gym was if he threw that punch or anybody throws that punch, I'm going to duck under it and swing. And the second that he did that, it was perfect timing. So the second I went under and threw it, it dropped him. And that was my highlight / Muhammad Ali moment that I had. Yeah. And, if you'd have been there in person.
Bro, if you'd have been in Franklin County, like I'm telling you, man, like everybody, I could tell you from the house we were, because there was a bunch of us, bro. I don't want to forget nobody's name. It was at least 10 dudes. And I know all around this town, bro, it was people that got love for you, support you, and they was shaking the paint off the wall, bro. I'm telling you, man, I remember Grizz being in there jumping, Marcus over there smiling, like Dak just threw a touchdown. That don't happen often. But yeah, man, the room was it was electric in there, bro. Everybody was so happy. I remember, I think Floyd fought right after. Like, people didn't even care. You know what I'm saying? It was like, didn't even matter. It was like, yeah, we seen the fight. It don't matter. Like, it was crazy, bro. The town, I'm pretty sure, those people in Roanoke that felt that way, but Franklin County, Rocky Mount, bro, we was crunk. We was so proud, so happy. You know what I'm saying? We was going crazy, man. I'm telling you, bro. Grizz's blood pressure shot through the roof. That nigga was out of control in there, bro.
I can only imagine, man. Like Like, man, that's one thing that I wish my other brother was here for. You know, Lamarque, man, rest in peace. And that's one thing that I wish that he was here for, man, because, you know, if I don't give it up to anybody else, I give it up to my brother Lamarque because he was always my fucking hype man, man. Like, I don't care if he couldn't make it to a fight, he would call me and, you know, hype me up, or if he's at my fights, that be the one person that I would hear in the crowd hyping me the fuck up and going off, man.
You hear him over everybody.
And that night, I still to this day, that moment wasn't mine, man. That moment was my brother's moment, because that whole week before the fight, like when I left, you know, so I can go do my media obligations and all the interviews and the press conferences and shit, you know, all I could think about was my training and thinking about my brother that week, because, you know, I felt like, you know, he was there with me the whole time, and, you know, like I said, he was my hype man. And, you know, when that moment happened, I felt like he was literally in there with me with that moment. I've never told nobody this because, you know, everybody knows how sentimental and how hurt I am with the loss of my brother. But, you know, like I said, I felt like that was not my moment. That was his moment with me, and his moment in general. And the crowd reaction after hearing those boos the day before at the press conference assured me and affirmed me that, oh shit, yeah, this is my fucking moment. Like, let's fucking go. That's why I ran over there and stood over him the way I did, because it was like, it was natural instinct. And plus, you know, I'm an MMA guy to the core, and I lost my mind for a second. I was about to jump on him and beat it, you know, ground and pound his ass on the ground, because that's what I'm used to. You feel what I'm saying?
Flashback. Oh, I catch myself.
Yeah,
Hey, hold on real quick though. Did he ever have y'all spoke about these shirts? What was his thoughts on that?
No, he actually has one of the shirts. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like I'm telling you, man, it's all love from Ocho Cinco, man. Like literally right after the fight, you know, after, you know, signing autographs and taking pictures with people in the crowd at the fights and stuff, you know, he hit my line. He called me. He's like, "Where you at?" You know, and I told him where I was at, because his locker room was on one side of the building. I think he was in the visitors' locker room of the Miami Dolphins Stadium, and I was literally in the locker room of the players' locker room, and I was in there with Fat Joe was in there. I got to meet Migos. They were literally in the room next to mine. Migos was literally in the room next to my room, because that's where their suite is, because they was in the suite part of the locker room, and they were right beside me. And, you know, I got to meet Quavo, Takeoff, and all those guys, man. That still blows my mind.
Now think about that, bro. Just think about, you know, just chilling on Sycamore, one of these joints back in the day, right? Now you watching whatever video, whoever you like at the time. And just think, fast forward, bro. You get to meet the Migos, Fat Joe, Floyd Mayweather on a event that you fighting at, bro.
Man,
that's mind blowing, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Man, that shit was wild. Like, when I even got to, you know, but before the media stuff and stuff like that, before fight week, you know, I got a conference call, and I didn't even know you could do conference phones on three-way on cell phones, and I mean, of course, Zoom and shit, but I'm talking about a literal conference phone call, a three-way. And, you know, when I answered the phone, I was driving. I almost wrecked answering the phone call for real, because when I heard Floyd's voice, I was like, the fuck? Is this Floyd?
And Money Mayweather.
And he's like, yeah, you know, this is Floyd, you know, welcome to the team. And I was on the phone with him and Chad at the same time, and I'm like, this is crazy. And, you know, when I got home and settled in, you know, I was spazzing about that, you feel what I'm saying? But, you know, being in that locker room with Migos and meeting a group that I avidly, religiously listened to, I was actually going to walk out to the song that they performed for Floyd that night, Straightening, because that was my shit at that point in time. But, you know, since they were, you know, there to walk him out and perform that song, they wouldn't let me have that song. So I'm still salty about that, for real, to keep it a buck. But, you know, I understood the assignment, and, you know, things were better with them being in the locker room, and, you know, of course, them being rappers, you can already tell what was going on in that locker room, and it was great. But I got to meet them. I didn't get to take any pictures and stuff because their security was some douchebags. But we ended up being able to dap it up and talk to them for a few moments. So that was great. And like I said, I got to meet Fat Joe that night. One of my favorites. I got to meet Busta Rhymes that night, and
I'd have been in heaven.
Rick Ross, when this post on YouTube, I'm going to screen record this part of it and tag you in it. But prior to this fight, I had met Rick Ross at one of my boxing fights, and I fought a dude that was closely connected to him, and I end up losing that fight on some hometown bullshit, and Rick Ross, legend in the rap game.
Rose.
I just happened to look over at him, and him and his camp, they was laughing at my fight. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. And so I held a vendetta for a little bit, and I was like, one day when I meet Rick Ross again officially, some crazy shit gonna happen. And just so some crazy shit did happen. I ended up fighting his boy because him and Chad are real close. And, Rick Ross actually gave me props for the Chad fight and even shouted me out on his social media and shit. Everything that I had said before about saying some foul shit to him, I threw that out the window because, this man, grown-ass man, showed me the respect that I wanted that night. And, having a conversation with him still blows my mind to even have had a conversation.
Absolutely.
With Rick Ross. And literally 2 weeks ago, literally on TikTok, it started trending that, he posted a clip of him from that night at the fights, literally on his TikTok, and, he shouted me out again, and, he even tagged me in the post on TikTok, and, that started trending again. So much respect to Rick Ross, and, I got to meet some other, NFL players, of course, Brandon Marshall, Terrell Owens, Fred Taylor, Channing, and
bunch of legends.
Man, like that night to me is still one of my top 5 best moments of things that has ever happened to me in my life. And this journey right now is still continuing to process and progress and get better, and I'm still having big moments, man. Like, this shit is still wild. Like, I'm still living and gaining off the, not only residuals, but, the local celebrity type / famous type shit from that fight, you feel what I'm saying? And, I never thought that things would be like this in my life, but at the same point in time, I did, as a kid, kind of put this into fruition. And for validation, even if you don't believe me, you can ask my mother, because I told her this as a kid. I was going to do something with myself and I'd be a better person than my father was. You feel what I'm saying?
And you did that, brother.
I'm not afraid to say that, because this is something. The way my life is right now, this is something that I've always wanted to do, was be a professional athlete. Whether I was going to be successful with it or unsuccessful with it, I was going to do it, and I was going to try it and make this a page of my book and my journey and my story of why I'm here on earth. You feel what I'm saying?
All right. Now, what I'm more impressed of, more than the Ocho Cinco thing, believe it or not, is the whole bare knuckle fight. Bruh, that's some brave shit, bro. I mean, I applaud you for even doing that, man. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, this, you gotta like the fight to want to do that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? You gotta really enjoy it. 'Cause I said, man, I gotta give him credit, man. Wins, loss, regardless, just to go out there and do that, man. This, woof. Take some kahunas, pause.
But man, look, I appreciate that, man. Like I said, I'm on a journey, and this is part of my journey. I like to fight. I fought in the streets several times as a youngin' and even as an adult before I started doing any of the stuff that I do now, whether it's MMA, bare knuckle, or boxing. I've had a couple street fights in my life, but none of that is credible coming into the fight world.
Right,
So
it's a whole other monster.
So if you think you're undefeated in the streets and have tons of street fights, man, take that shit, put it in a box and throw it out the window, because
Right.
when you come into this real fighting shit, that shit does not matter. And that's one thing that I took into this fighting shit. I don't care if I got into fights in the street. I might have lost a fight in the street, and I might have won some in the streets, but none of that counts. You feel what I'm saying? And with this bare knuckle shit, man, I was fresh into my professional MMA career, and I got to the point where I wanted to start venturing out to try other combat sports also, like Muay Thai, kickboxing, and also boxing also. And at that point in time where I was at with bare knuckle, getting into bare knuckle, I had just beat a guy that fought in Bellator, and I ended up beating him in like a minute and 20-some seconds. And that was a big deal locally to me and the fight community, because one, the guy fought in Bellator, and two, he was also a Virginia guy that was, in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. He was the champion of that part of Virginia, and I was the, amateur champion of this part of Virginia. I've held almost every either middleweight, light heavyweight, and one heavyweight amateur title in almost every amateur promotion in the state of Virginia, except for the one promotion that he fought for, Spartacus Fight League. And I always wanted to fight him, but certain places protect their champions in this sport, and they don't want anybody to fight their champion that's a threat. So
I think that's a real thing. Yeah.
it is a real thing. It's like that through boxing heavily.
Bro,
heavily.
Man, I'm still mad. Last night, we was just talking about it off air, bro. Man, old boy lost last night, man.
Yeah, man. And
you catch it. When you catch it, you tell me what you think. You hit my phone, let me know what you think.
I'm definitely gonna watch it. But like I said, he was the champion of that part of Virginia, and me being me, I give zero fucks. I start calling people out. I hold the people accountable. So I went to an event, and I start calling them out, and I'm like, promoter in Roanoke having a fight card, and I was like, look, I don't want to fight nobody else. This is the guy I want to fight, because this fight, one, will not only put me as one of the best fighters in my weight class in the state of Virginia, but it's also going to create a buzz just for the simple fact that, he fought in Bellator, and two, I got beef with this man because I've been trying to fight him since I was an amateur fighter. So when I got the chance, like I said, I beat him in a minute and 27 seconds, and, shit was lit after that. And then I created another beef with another fighter, and, this was one of the last times that my brother Lamarque got to come to one of my fights. And I was on, of course he hyped me up before the fight. I was on savage mode. I was on demon time that night.
Demon time.
Literally demon time. Like I don't remember too much of nothing from that night but those very few parts. I end up, like I said, I was on demon time. I end up kneeing the guy out of the ring, and I got disqualified that night. And, of course, the first person that was calling bullshit and screaming and talking shit was my brother Lamarque. And, after that, some things happened. The dude wanted a rematch, and, in that midst of time preparing for that next fight, my brother passed away. So, that hurt me a little bit. That was one of the, the devil jumped on my back type moments during that fight camp. So I was a little bit sad and salty and mad at the same time during that fight camp. And, when that fight came back into fruition and, it was fight time, I took a moment to, one, have a moment of silence for him at the fights, and two, I put a chair with his name in it specifically, so that be his empty chair, but him be there type deal at my fight. And, preparing for that fight, about to walk out, all I heard was him in my head hyping me up, and I end up, slicing that dude up and cutting him up. And
barbecue chicken.
Yes, I was so about to say that. I was like, when Shaq would say barbecue chicken. But
Barbecue chicken.
that's where my journey started. After that, one of my teammates, one of the guys that I train with, bare knuckle fighting championships, hit him up, and he's like, man, I got a bare knuckle fight. We train for this? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, I would be honored for you to be in my corner that night too. So I was like, oh shit, hell yeah, I'm good. Let's do it. So not being on the airplane since high school, I got to fly on the airplane to Biloxi, Mississippi, and go to my very first bare knuckle event. When I got there, I felt like I had the juice when I got there because, the cameras are out and me being with him, they not even filming my partner. They filming me because they thought I was fighting that night. And I'm like, nah, I'm not here for that. I just fought like a couple of weeks ago. He's the one fighting. And I'm the type of person, I'm not going to, I don't care what, position I am or how higher up I am or wherever I'm at in this fight game. I'm not going to take anybody else's shine at all, period, because I got my own shine, and so I'm not going to take somebody else's. And, that night I cornered him, and, fighting bare knuckles sparked my interest because, like I said, I was in the phase of wanting to try different sports. And, I had a conversation with bare knuckle that night, and they offered me a fight, but at that point in time, like I said, I'm not the type of person to take somebody else's shine. I was like,
Right.
It's not my time right now. I would, but it's not my time. It's my teammates' time. So time goes by, and they have tryouts. They tell me what I need to do. I go to tryouts, show up, show out, and rest in peace to Anthony Roble Johnson. I think he is the reason why and how I got into bare knuckle. He was another one of my guys. That's one of my hype men. Rest in peace to him. And he was with me. I was the person that stuck out to him as having talent with bare knuckle, and I feel like he was one of the reasons why I got into bare knuckle fighting. Well, actually, that got me signed. But fast forward, I got a fight here, locally in Roanoke. It's probably the last time that I got to fight for Roanoke, and one of the bare knuckle guys had showed up to the fight, and of course I've known him for a long time at this point, and I go through my fight. I ended up winning the fight, and right there in almost less than a minute. And I walked to the back because I had some other fighters, some of the guys that I trained with and that I trained with on that fight card. So I'm starting to prepare them, and I hear over the the little speaker, the announcer yelling my name. I'm like, oh shit, what is going on?
Right.
And then I seen the guy in the bare knuckle representative in the ring, and I go in there, and that was another one of my top 5 best moments in my life. They bare knuckle offered me a fight, and they talked about me coming to tryouts and stuff, and they wanted me on their roster, and I wasn't going to say no in that moment because it was a great moment, and so I said yes. And like I said, through this journey of being a bare knuckle fighter, I've had my losses, which I don't count as losses. I take them as lessons to make me better and progress. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it, with the amount of losses that I have in bare knuckle, it set me up to do bigger and better things. Like, one, being able to fight on the biggest promotion in the world, Mayweather Promotions. I've gotten some great opportunities. My social media has grown. My name has grown. My name has not just local anymore. It's global. Like, when you
Big time.
when you can go on your social media and see what countries and states and age groups follow you, and you see them international countries like Japan and Africa and Russia and shit on there that's viewing you, and also people from there following you that keep checking on your page. That's when you made it. And man, it's
a beautiful feeling, right?
It's a big beautiful feeling. You feel what I'm saying? Because like I said, I'm more into social media now than I was before when I just had a local buzz. Because like I said, in order to be able to create opportunities for yourself, you got to create a buzz, and you can't just be sitting back on your ass and
Yeah,
not
ain't
doing.
nothing gonna come jump in your lap. It ain't gonna come beat your door down. You gotta make it shake, bro.
It's not. Even though several things have came and jumped in my lap and beat the door down to be able to do collaborations and and sponsorships and shit, I still feel like that is from all the hard work and dedication that I put in. And you know, one of my coaches, he always tells me, man, I know you hate being on camera and hate taking pictures, but you're made for this shit. That's why I've been so much more active with my social media shit, like posting a little bit of. I'm not gonna give the world all my training videos. You feel what I'm saying? Because
Nah,
they don't
yeah.
that I'm the type of guy that my opponents are not gonna be able to pick me apart just from a training video. You feel what I'm saying? So, like I said, I'm a little bit heavier into the media I am than I was before, but you know, with this bare knuckle journey and the opportunities that I've got, man, it's awesome, and I got some more great opportunities coming up. Like what I was talking to you about the other day. You know, I got linked up with a rapper from Louisiana. His name is Young Trail, and you know, he's got me into a partnerships as brand ambassadorship with the vodka company, and you know, I sent you the pictures of the vodka and stuff, and
I'm a little upset we didn't get a bottle in here today. I just want
Look,
to let y'all know.
look, my
I need to be
shipment.
the first one to get a picture of that bottle. But go ahead.
I got you on the bottle though, but
Yeah,
my
yeah.
shipment should be here within the next few days. I thought it was gonna be here either Friday or yesterday while I was gone, but it'll be here within the next couple of days because everybody's still under the COVID stuff when it comes to shipping and stuff being backed up. But you know,
Yeah, so hopefully next episode we'll be partaking.
y'all will have the brand of my partnership of my own / partnership vodka that's coming out.
What's it called?
Hold on, man. Look, I'm still learning the name of it. You feel me? I don't just like when it comes to stuff like collaborating. I just don't, you know, just I read up onto it at first. I don't always remember names, but you know, it's called Chosen Vodka. You know, we got 3 flavors that's going to be out. Okay. So I hope when it does drop and I start posting about it on all my social medias that, you know, the people that fucks with me show up and show out for me and support this part of my branding out and branching out and partnering with someone with a different business venture. And, you know, I hope everybody, man, you don't have to, but, you know, as a fan or a follower of mine, I would hope you would, you know, like I said, show up and show out for me and support me with this new business venture amongst all the other business ventures that I have going on that, you know, I really don't put out on social media because, you know, sometimes when you put out an idea or something that you're doing, somebody will try to put their name on it or say that they got you started in it or this, that, and the third. No. I tell people all the time, even supporters and even most importantly, my haters, you have the same 24 hours and seven days a week that I do that you could be doing something with yourself. Don't try to put your name or your likeness into something that I've done by myself and continue to do by myself to reach new higher links, you feel what I'm saying? And, you know, a lot of people are doing what I'm doing, but I keep a lot of shit under wraps for somebody don't steal my shit, you feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But yeah, man, I feel like we pretty much gave him everything, man. I got one more quick question before we go, man. Who was the favorite wrestler growing up, man? Because you come from that. I want to know. I don't know if I think I got one. I need to hear yours. I was a Sting guy.
Hey,
I
look,
was a Sting guy.
Sting is one of my top 5, but
Stone Cold.
My favorite wrestler of all time, period, is Stone Cold Steve Austin because that's who my granny loved. Like if Stone Cold came on the TV, this was the hypest I would ever see this woman. Like literally, even with her older age, if Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out or did anything behind the scenes, my granny was fucking crunk, bro. Like it'd be crazy. And me and my little brother, or you know, my cousins like Dontel and them, you know, would be sitting in her room with her watching wrestling. You know, they will attest to this. When Stone Cold Steve Austin or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would come out, granny would go ape shit, man. Like those were the best. But
yeah, Stone Cold's the man.
But
bro.
yeah, Stone Cold is my favorite wrestler.
Right. NWO or DX?
Come on, man. Look, I'm torn. Because
you gotta pick one.
I'm torn. I fucks with DX because I used to get kicked out of class for doing the sucking sign. But I'm a big NWO fan because But with NWO, you gotta either be with red and black NWO or black and white NWO.
Black and white, man.
Oh man, you tripping. I'm going with the black and red
Black and
NWO,
white,
man.
man.
They were different, even though some of them were the same guys from both squads. But they also had the NWO, Latino too, with Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, Psychosis.
Yeah, I'm cool on all of them. I like Hulk Hogan. Though.
Yeah,
That was
but,
just, yeah.
but yeah, I actually got to meet Hulk Hogan. It was on the fly, but I got to meet Hulk Hogan when I was in Miami the year before last. I was in Miami getting ready for a fight, and I was at Box Art Gym. So if you're ever in Miami, hit up Box Art Gym, one of the best gyms in Miami. Floyd Mayweather trains there when he's there. Clarissa Shields, Israel Adesanya, everybody trains there. And meeting Hulk Hogan there was like crazy because I was coming out the gym from training that day, and he just happened to be walking in to get his little workout in. And I got to shake his hand, so that was cool. But you did forget something though.
What's that?
Let me go ahead and tell you.
Go and get it to me.
Man, I just made Virginia history on March 28th.
I might not have knew about this. Go and get it to me.
I made history as the first bare knuckle fight in Virginia state history, period. I got my first bare knuckle win, the first fighter in Virginia history to win a bare knuckle fight on Virginia soil. And I made all types of history that night. And, it is what it is. What happened with that night, I got my first win. I made history. A lot of people call cap and talk shit, so I'm going to talk my shit.
Go and get it to him then.
I made history that night. Nobody else made history that night. I was the first to do it, just like a lot of the firsts I've had with a lot of shit that I've done, so I'm popping my shit. And
as you should.
If you call cap or whatever, fuck you. Have a nice day.
Suck it on DX. Well, yeah, man, like I said, it was long overdue, man. I really, really do appreciate you coming through, man, because I took a little break, like I said at the beginning, man, but we about to get right back at it, man. You know what I'm saying? My guy, appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you for having me. And definitely, this has definitely been a long time coming. I'm glad we finally,
Yes,
got
sir.
the scheduling right to be able to do it,
Made it happen. Next time, we're going to have that bottle up here. I need that bottle.
Oh, yeah.
So, Grizz, you need to come on in. We gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, next
that's how we
time,
gonna do it.
hopefully I have a big shipment of bottles and I can give you all 3 flavors
Yes, sir.
when they come in. And next time that I do this, well, you'll have them before then. Even if you drink them all, just give me your feedback.
We're going to save one for right here. So we can
just
go ahead with it.
when I get one and get one to you, whenever I get one, you'll get the first bottle that I hand out. Of course,
God.
I have mine, but you'll get you was the first person to hit me up about it. But
No doubt.
like I said, just give me your whether it's good feedback or negative feedback on how you like it. Whenever
keep it
you
real.
get, yeah, that's all I ever want is to keep it real with anything that I drop. Even with my shirts, I got some more stuff like apparel that's about to come back out too, and drop some new shit with apparel and shit too. Because with those shirts, I sold a lot of those shirts when I first dropped them. Like, I think I sold like literally almost 150 of those shirts in a month's time when those came out. And so I had to get a second batch, and the second batch that I got left of those shirts, I got like literally like 8 shirts left. And when you told me your size, I said, damn, I don't even think I got one of them left, but let me check. And just so happened it was the last one in that color.
Got lucky. Fat lives matter.
Yes, sir.
Well, I would tell them to tell your handles, but I'm pretty sure everybody that watch me know who you are. But if not, you can go and tell them your Instagram, Twitter, whatever. You can give me your handles real quick.
Yeah, you can follow me on IG at Brian Maxwell 12. All you gotta do is look up my name; it'll be the first thing that pop up. And on Twitter, I be on Twitter a little bit, but not too much. But I'm about to start turning it back up on Twitter because those 100,000 and 81,000 plus views and interactions are tough. But I'm about to kick it up a notch on there. You can find me at the Real Brian Maxwell Official on Twitter, and of course, my name. I got 2 pages on Facebook. I got my Brian Maxwell MMA fighter page, and then my personal page, Brian Maxwell. So follow me, add, like, subscribe, and I'm starting a YouTube channel also. So who is Brian Maxwell?
Be on the lookout for that.
On YouTube. I think I'm going to start a podcast. A lot of podcasters and media people want me to do it because everybody thinks I have an interesting story, and
You're good at
you know,
this too, man.
I'm not.
You are. You make this shit real easy for me.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, you are really good at this, bro. You
Yeah,
can tell you do it a lot.
I'm at the space of really wanting to do this shit. I was gonna start one like last year, but with this Ocho fight, still living off the fame of that and doing this bare knuckle shit and doing a whole lot more shit with that. I didn't really get to start, but it's gonna start soon because I think the podcast world needs my attention. And I've done shit. I've done thousands of interviews and podcasts, man. And I tell people I'd rather give my hometown people a chance to do their podcast or their interviews, or even with hometown sponsors. I'd rather give my people a chance before anybody. I'm not too big to do the bigger shit first. You feel what I'm saying? Even with the bigger brands that I partner with or have sponsorships with, I put them to the side and did not answer their messages until I heard from my local people first.
We appreciate that, bro.
I'm definitely homegrown. I love my county. I'm from here. I am here. This is my home. This is my shit. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these are my peoples. Like I said, I'd rather give my local people a chance before I give the big brands, because once you get into a certain status, I'm going to go ahead and say it, a lot of people forget where they came from and they shit on the people of where they're from. That's not me, because if I did that, my mama would still jump on my head till this day. Even with her old age, she'll cuss me out, slap me up. I don't care how old I get. As long as my mother is still alive, she will still try to fight me. Right. You feel what I'm saying? And
she don't care nothing about you making history in Virginia.
Hey,
still
look,
get whooped on.
Hey, look, that's one of the things she told me too. Like real rap. Like my mama was, of course, my mama walking around in Walmart and being local, and people telling her, "Oh, I just seen your son on TV." Blah blah blah. She like, "Shit, that's my son, of course." And, she loved that, but at the end of the day, she my mama. She don't care about that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like I said, appreciate you for having me. I'm glad we finally got to get this done.
Yes, sir.
Y'all make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. This.
All that.
I'm telling you, the numbers on this is gonna be real. Wait till this hits YouTube.
All that. Facts over feelings, man. The truth was in the building. We out of here.
Yes, sir.